There's a huge battle brewing over private property rights, and it all comes to a head in 3 weeks on Election Day. It's a huge day for property rights because that is when voters in 12 states will decide whether to approve new restrictions on public seizures of private property. In one situation, say your local zoning board blocked you from opening an adult bookstore in your neighborhood. You could sue and get taxpayers to pay for your loss of business. That's an interesting scenario indeed. Joining us to talk about this and what it means, Tim Sandefur. He is author of Property Rights in 21st Century America. He favors limiting government's ability to restrict the use of private property. And Doug Kendall, Executive Director of the Community Rights Council, opposes measures that restrict zoning rules. Gentlemen, it is great to have both of you with us. Let's start with you, Tim. Let's go to this case of an adult bookstore. I am the adult bookstore owner. The zoning rules change, and all of a sudden I have to close my shop. Should taxpayers be the ones to pay me for my loss of business?
In most cases, yes, because what's happening is that the government is taking away your property right that belongs to you in order to advance the public welfare. And it's okay if the government does that, but it is taking away something that belongs to you, and so it should have to compensate you for taking away the use of your property.
Wait a minute, Doug. It seems to me like zoning rules change all the time. So if we say every time a zoning rule changes, taxpayers have to pay the people who lose out, we could be running into, at the least, an unbelievable volume of lawsuits.
It'll be an
well, it's not every time.
Aaron, it'll be an unbelievable volume of lawsuits. It'll also be billions of dollars that taxpayers have to pay big developers, polluting corporations, and porn shops simply for obeying the law. I don't think that's what taxpayers want, and I think that's why these initiatives in California, for example, are opposed by just about everyone who's read them, from the Taxpayers Association to the Homeowners Association to the Farm Bureaus to the Small Business Associations.
Tim, he has a point here. I mean, he's saying it would cost billions of dollars, and the taxpayers are paying this. This is that does seem to be problematic. Those 2 points.
Well, what we're talking about is government coming in and taking away people's property rights. Now, it's true it would be cheaper to take those property rights away from people and not pay them for it. I mean, if the government comes and tears down your house and puts the city hall on that property instead, it could be cheaper if it didn't pay you for taking away your house. But that wouldn't be fair, so the Constitution requires that the government compensate you for tearing down your house. The same thing is true when the government passes a law that takes away your property rights and says you can't do with it what you want to. Now, there are some exceptions to that. In fact, the California initiative still allows the government to control pornography, which was the example that you used. But in a lot of cases, government supposedly protects the environment by telling a landowner, you're not allowed to build anything on your land that you bought and paid for and worked hard for, because we want to provide a habitat for the speckled gnatcatcher or whatever. And the government refuses to pay people for the property that it has taken from them in that way. And that's not fair. It'd be cheaper to not pay these people, but that would be theft.
Why is that theft, though, Tim? I mean, you know, if I have a clothes store, I'm not even trying to say a porn store, say I have a clothes store, and all of a sudden I find out that it's built on a wetland that obviously environmental groups can disagree, but people say, you know what, this is going to be a problem. Well, isn't that the risk I take from building it there as an American? It's not my property right. It's a risk I undertake.
On the contrary, I think the whole point of being an American is that you're not at risk of arbitrary government action coming in and taking away your property rights in order to accomplish what politicians think is a good idea. That's the sort of thing that goes on in other countries. But in America, we have a solid constitutional protection for private property rights to ensure that the government doesn't just arbitrarily take away your property that you bought and paid for and that you have the right to expect to be stable and protected, simply to accomplish what politicians think is a good idea and then not compensate you for it.
All right. Well, Tim and Doug, thank you very much. And I know we certainly probably got a lot of people's blood boiling on that. But, folks, we wanted to bring you just a taste of this debate because it's a big one and it could be on your ballot. And it certainly is one you want to think long and hard about whichever way you come out when you place your vote. All right. Still to come. We told you we were going to tell you.